Okay. Good evening and welcome to People's Parliament. I remain your host, Mr. Alko Christian Oche. And it's a pleasure to have you join us tonight. Dr. Adeze, you're welcome. Glad to have you join People's Parliament, where we'll be having an in-house discussion regarding some of the headlines that we have for tonight. Looking at the headline, State of the Nation, where groups are already advocating for PO Tambuwal joint tickets ahead of 2027 for the ADC. And if you look at Tambuwal has the pedigree. He was the former Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives. And during his tenure, he was able to put the House in order, and they were able to maintain a clear separation of power as, the lower chamber of the National Assembly. It remains very, very commendable for the activities, his voice as a Speaker of the House of Representatives. It wasn't a rubber stamp as we have today. So coalition, different platforms are already speculating that the ADC ticket should go the way of Mr. Peter Obi and Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal, the former governor of Sokoto State, at the same time a member of the Senate. So this is what some of the things we're looking at. Of course, ADC, PO-ADC Declaration is something that is still going viral, and a lot of people are beginning to get the news of PO-ADC Declaration and how he has been able to collapse the entire southeastern political bloc into the ADC. It's very commendable, and it shows the weight that Mr. Peter Obi carries politically. And of course, we'll be taking a look at the US Airstrike. You'll recall there have been massive US airstrike against terrorist enclaves across northwestern parts of Nigeria, where we had the first airstrike took place on Christmas Day at Sokoto, where the entire Lakrawa camp was decimated, destroyed by the airstrike. And the community dwellers woke up to the news, and they heard the blast, and they were praising President Donald Trump for bringing relief their way, because they reported in that viral video that their community had been liberated as those skirmishes of terrorists that survived the airstrike have already taken to their heels, and they have run away from their community. So they are now free from all forms of terrorist attack. They explained how previously they could not go to farm, they are being taxed, their women are being raped, and their children are being raped as well. The girls are being raped. Then the children, some of the children were being kidnapped and killed in terrorist thing without the government coming to their aid. So they are happy that President Donald Trump, all the way from the United States of America, have them at heart to liberate them from the stronghold of these terrorists that have taken over their land for so many years ago. And of course, as part of the trending headline, having had the first airstrike in Sokoto State, there was another airstrike in Zamfara State, in terrorist enclaves, of course. And this time around, a lot of terrorists were wiped out by the by the airstrike, which has rendered so many terrorist camps destroyed. So we are expecting more of this airstrike on the various camps of the terrorists across the country in order to liberate the Nigerian masses. We also heard another rumored news that Gumi's residence in Kaduna State was attacked. I mean, there was an airstrike against Gumi's residence in Kaduna State, but we understand that has not been confirmed by any official sources. It is on this note that we'll be taking a look at the Food Committee. You understand the COPDEM movement, COPDEM, Big Tent, as well as the CPU. These are hubs of different support groups have come together to form a Food Committee that will pilot and spearhead the activities of Mr. Peter Obi, as well as his candidates in the ADC, extending to the national election where he will also be on the ballot come 2027. So the committee's mandate is simple, trying to galvanize the entire support base instead of having different support groups springing up every now and then. They want to provide leadership that seems to be lacking in 2023, and of course provide direction for any groups that are willing to collapse their structure into supporting His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi in the forthcoming 2027 general election, starting from the primaries in the ADC. So that being said, COPDEM, of course, have hailed the decision of Mr. Peter Obi to provide the much expected good news for the Nigerian people, having declared his intention to run for the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria come 2027, having joined the ADC to pursue this dream. And COPDEM have hailed Mr. Peter Obi. As a matter of fact, there was an exhaustive press conference that was held in this regard, and it was able to pinpoint some of the areas that COPDEM identify with Mr. Peter Obi on what he has been able to do by coming out to join the ADC coalition. So on this note, my guest in the studio, Dr. Adeze, you have been following some of the national issues that have been trending since yesterday, arising from the declaration of His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, where he was very blunt that the INEC should not waste anybody's time, and that 2027, they should not wait until 2027 and start describing it as pre-election matters. Rather, they should go ahead now that they have the time to investigate all prospective candidates' results, check their academic results, and ensure that they actually graduated and attended those schools that they claim to have attended. In order to avoid any technicality in 2027 and be calling it pre-election matters, we have suggested that to them. Ordinarily, the INEC is supposed to be up and doing, shouldn't have waited for Mr. Peter Obi to alert them on what they should do ahead of time. But that being said, at least they cannot claim ignorance because they have been reminded to verify and authenticate all academic qualifications and claims of each prospective candidate ahead of 2027, starting with President Parliamen, who claimed to have attended Chicago State University at Illinois. So he should be able to prove it, and there should be verification and validation of his academic claims. You understand, Parliamen also claimed to have graduated from a primary school, which fact-finding revealed that the primary school was not even created as at the time he claimed to have graduated from that. So these are some of the issues that are now beginning to attract public scrutiny, given the alarm raised by His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi. So, Dr. Adeze, I believe you have followed up and you have seen some of the engagements, some of the talking points, very tough talking points that are beginning to come out from Mr. Peter Obi's ADC declaration yesterday. What's your comments in this regard? Dr. Adez, are you available to speak? Okay, I'll keep it rolling, expecting that anytime you're available to speak, you just unmute and speak. And viewers via YouTube channel, thank you for following up. We are looking at the declaration of His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi that is beginning to already fuel, push across the country. Groups from the northern region are already advocating for Peter Obi and Tambuwal tickets, calling it the cleanest of all tickets that Nigerians should expect from 2027 from the ADC. So we are now looking at it. How is the ADC going to plan this? Of course, consensus can give birth to that ticket, right? If actually everyone involved is interested in rescuing Nigeria mantra. To me, personally, I feel Mr. Peter Obi and Tambuwal ticket from the ADC would be the best gift the ADC can give to Nigerians, such that they'll be able to uproot the demonic party, the terrorist party that bedeviled the development of this country. They'll be able to uproot it for us and push it aside, so that Nigerians can be able to breathe a fresh air for the first time since 2015. We're also looking at the steering committee for members who are willing to join and be part of the initiative of this food committee. It's very simple. In your respective states, you are expected to align, register with the COPDEM, the OBIDEM movement, the Big Tent, or the CPO. These are different umbrellas that if you are able to join and become a member of any of these platforms, you are as good as done in being part of this food committee, because we're trying to provide organization. There has to be organization. There has to be accountability. There has to be roadmap, right? So such that we're able to organize and coordinate, work in a way that we look back and be proud of what we have been able to achieve. So that's the essence of the food committee, the steering committee, and they're already hitting the ground running. And given the airstrike by the United States of America on Nigerian soil, targeting terrorists, Nigerians are beginning to ask questions in respect to the billions and billions of dollars that have so far been expended on national security. I mean, how is that justified? That we have terrorists within our borders, collecting taxes, setting up tents across forests. The government is aware of their location, but they've not been able to strike. Is that not complicity? Of course, it is complicity in all ramifications you want to look at it. The government of Nigeria has proven to be complicit. So Nigerians are beginning to ask questions. The $1.13 billion, for instance, for last year's security votes in the budget, what have they been able to achieve with it? That it has to take the intervention of the US President Donald Trump, that have made it a personal campaign promise to end all forms of Christian genocide in any part of the world in an attempt to provide religious freedom, so that people cannot be forced out or forced into any religion. They should be able to choose their own volition, whichever religion they want to practice, without fear or favor. That is what President Donald Trump stands for. And that is why he's beginning to target the Islamist groups in Nigeria that are forcing and killing, targeting systematically Christian population across the country. Of course, we understand that there are not only Christians that are victims of this genocide as well as terrorism that is affecting the country, but then the ultimate target remains the Christian-dominated communities. Of course, there are casualties along other religious lines, particularly the Muslim population have also faced huge casualties, But the primary targets of these terrorists remains the Christian-dominated community. And that is what President Donald Trump is out to tackle, to end all forms of genocide against the Christian population. And he's not joking about it. He has said that if the attack against Christian communities do not stop, if the ongoing Christian genocide is not duly addressed, there will be more bombs dropping on terrorists daily across Nigeria. So this is a promise he has made, and he has successfully kept that promise. He has not just said it, but is working towards achieving that landmark, which is very commendable. So having said that, Iranians in the foreign scene now, Iranians are beginning to look, are beginning to demand for an end to Islamic regime. They want democracy now. They are not calling for democracy in their country. They want to have a say on how their country is being governed. They want to enjoy God-given freedom. And that's why they're calling for an end to Iranian, to Islamic regime that so far tail-guided their entire lifestyle, and everything that have to do with government has been governed in the way of the Islamic regime. And now they are saying enough is enough. They took over the street some days ago, and they still remain on the street until they see to an end of the Islamic regime. What are we saying? Nigeria is a country is currently unable to provide realistic investigation into Turkish sponsorship of terrorism in Nigeria. Turkey government has been fingered for providing logistic, military grade equipment to Boko Haram in Nigeria since 2014 until date. And the Nigerian government is yet to make any pronouncement on this matter. Rather, persons like Sheikh Gumi is busy advocating that the Nigerian government, instead of looking up to the United States, should look up to Turkey to come and help Nigeria to end terrorism. Is that not laughable? Of course, it is laughable. So it is very glaring and very clear that Gumi is rather interested in deepening the terrorism and the genocide that is affecting Nigeria, instead of sorting solution, instead of identifying with the victims of Christian genocide, the victims of terrorism across the country. Sheikh Gumi is rather interested in advocating for the terrorists on grounds that they've been cheated in the past. I mean, who does that? Yet the Nigerian government is still tolerating and watching Sheikh Gumi gallivanting around, even granting media audience to international community, further exposing his terrorist tie. His tie with the terrorists is further been exposed by himself. Yet we have a government that have not been able to provide, tackle Sheikh Gumi in this regard. So, if you are part of the Zoom, I understand that Daisy seems to be busy. Our third attendees, or participants rather, please, if you want to have a contribution on what has been discussed so far, you can unmute and speak. It's a public participatory program. We provide this session so that Nigerians can be able to make contribution to how they feel the government is performing or underperforming. Tinubu has released a New Year press release, very beautifully written, but when it comes to implementation, the answer is often not the same as the beautiful texts that were put together. Nigerian politicians are fond of providing very good press conferences, but when it comes to implementation, they are always missing in action. He has been able to provide a very beautiful release in his address to the nation. And at the end of this year, you will realize that there is no any meaningful progress in the lives of the citizens. He was even boasting of how they will raise money through different flows of income to government purse. But at the end of the day, when you look at the achievements, you realize that he is not able to give justification to some of this stream of income that is bragging about. On this note, I want to thank you for joining. In case you want to have a contribution, please unmute and speak. Otherwise, it's a very short edition. We are not going to last that long. We'll come to the end of the program.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Andezi, please speak.
Thank you very much. Good evening and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, compliment of the season. Happy 2026.
Yes, we want to believe that this is a new brand year and that things is going to be different. But the question I want to ask, looking at the security situation in the country, where we saw how the US, it seems like this incumbent government partnering with the US to curtail the security situation in the country. But recently we saw after that airstrike that happened of recent in Sokoto, we're seeing another move by the sitting president. That's his excellency, that's Isiwaju Tinubu, Bola Tinubu, trying to partner with Turkey again. What are your take concerning that move of moving towards Turkey after he has a sitting with the US government? Do you think that that move will favor the potential?
Like I said, right? It's not genuinely in the interest of Parliamen and the entire APC government to end terrorism in Nigeria, because they thrive when there is insecurity in the country. They thrive, they were able to win, steal votes when there are insecurities. So they don't even want the insecurity to go. They don't want the terrorism to go because they are using it to make the national budget dry. That being said, they were not genuinely interested in having Trump involved in this matter. They did not invite Trump. It is Nigerians that invited Trump, right? And Trump responded to the call to end the Christian genocide in Nigeria. And he has seen the results, how drastic it is against the terrorists, which they are all complicit. So that's the reason why you saw the interview that was granted by Gumi, where he was calling on the Nigerian government to end the ongoing joint effort with the United States of America to end terrorism. Rather, they should invite Turkey to come and help Nigeria. You understand, in the earlier part of my submission, where I read out an investigation that was carried out by CBN News. CBN News is an Egyptian-based TV station that have carried out an investigation that revealed that Turkish government has been sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria, supplying military-grade arms to Boko Haram since 2014 until date. So, what has the Nigerian government said about it? Are they not silent? So, this all points to the fact that they are all complicit in the terrorism cases that is affecting the entire country. And of course, they are complicit in the ongoing Christian genocide. I only want to tell them that it's too late for them to withdraw from the United States approach to end terrorism in Nigeria, because they have already taken the move. As a matter of fact, the United States is like a global police. They have access to any country where there is a perceived genocide. And in this case, there is a clear case of genocide. And that gives the justification for the United States of America to enter Nigeria and carry out any action they feel deemed fit to end terrorism as well as genocide against the Christian population and Nigerians in particular. In general. So it's too late for them to withdraw. I don't see President Donald Trump backing down from his campaign promise. He has promised to end all forms of Christian genocide in any part of the world, and Nigeria cannot be an exception. So it's too late for them to withdraw. As a matter of fact, their realignment towards Turkey will rather expose Turkish fetish and demonic engagement with Boko Haram. I hope that response is clear to you, Dr. Anderson.
It's very clear. It's very clear. Thank you very much.
It's all right. Thank you. So it's a pleasure to have you be with us up to this point until we have tomorrow's edition, where we'll be discussing probably other trendy stories or news content on People's Parliament. Have a very great evening. I remain your host, Mr. Ako Christian Oche, otherwise known as Due Process. Thank you for joining, and God bless you. Bye-bye.